All right. Now we're doing 8Q alternating case to alternating case. This is by Donald Sablung, and 90% of the people like it. So we're going to define string.prototype.toAlternating case such that each lowercase letter becomes uppercase and each uppercase letter becomes lowercase. For example, lowercase hello world becomes uppercase, uppercase hello world becomes lowercase, and so on and so forth. Numbers don't change, but that doesn't really matter too much to us. As usual, our function should be pure, i.e. it should not mutate the original string. Gotcha. All right. So this may be a little intimidating to some because it says string.prototype.toAlternating case instead of like function whatever, whatever, whatever. But the only difference between this and a function is the fact that instead of using an argument, we just say this instead. So let's do a console.log this so I can show you what I'm talking about. So it just does string hello world instead of the usual way, which I don't even remember what the usual way looks like. So right here, we're just going to start off by doing a for loop. We're going to say for let I equals 0, while I is less than this dot length. We'll say I++, all right? And now we're going to say, also let's declare a variable. Let's say let result equal an empty string like this. All right. And so let's do an if statement in here and say if this at I equals this at I dot to uppercase. All right. If you don't know about the toUpperCase method, basically it's just a method that returns the calling string value converted to uppercase. All right. What we're going to do if this at I equals this is I dot toUpperCase, what we're going to do is we're going to make it, we're going to say result plus equals this at I dot to lowercase. And you could probably guess it, but to lowercase returns the calling string value converted to lowercase. All right. So now we've got that. We'll do an else. So if it's lowercase, what we're going to do is just say result plus equals this at I dot to uppercase case like that. All right. And let's just return result. And if you can imagine, once this goes, like if this is I is like a space, a space equals space dot to uppercase, so it'll just push it in this one, just in case you're wondering. Let's test it out. Right, it works, awesome. And attempt it. All right, there we go. But there's a few other ways we could do, but for time's sake, we're just going to do one more on this one, because this one's like kind of a little hard to explain. This is a pretty advanced one for 8Q, in my opinion. But let me show you. So let's do another console.log, and we're going to do it like this because we're going to use methods on this one. So we're going to say this again. Let's test it out. All right, and it's doing this again. So what we want to use this on this one is the map method, and the map method is the method that creates a new array populated with the results of calling a provided function on every element in the calling array. But the thing is, this isn't an array right now; it's a string. So to make this an array, we're going to wrap this thing in brackets like this to make an array literal. Let's see what it looks like right now. All right, so it looks like this. But what we want to do is have each one of these letters, each one of these characters in its own element. So to do that, we're going to use this spread syntax, which allows an iterable such as an array or string to be expanded in places where 0 more arguments or elements are expected. All right. So we're just put it in front of this right here. We'll say ... and test it out. And look at that. Now we've got every character in its own element. Now we can do the map method, so map like this. And for the map method, if you're not too aware of what goes on here, what we're going to do is we'll put X, which is basically the element. Let me just change this to element. It's a little bit easier to understand if we do that. So with this one, basically, each one of these elements we're going to multiply by 2. So we're going to say 1 times 2 is 2, 4 times 2 is 8, 9 times 2 is 18, and 16 times 2 is 32. So, and if we run it, we get this right here. So the syntax we're going to use is that array we already made, dot map. Then we're going to have the element like we have up here, the arrow, and the expression we're going to use is basically the one-liner version of this right here. So let's set that up first. Let's say element, and then this right here. And then for the one-liner version of if statements, what we're going to use is this conditional or ternary operator, which is the only JavaScript operator that takes 3 operands, a condition followed by a question mark, then an expression to execute if the condition is truthy followed by a colon, and then finally the expression to execute if the condition is falsy. And this operator is frequently used as an alternative for if-else statements. All right, so for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to say the same thing as this, except for element instead of this at I. We're going to say element, if element equals element dot toUpperCase, like this. What we're going to do is we're going to say element dot toLowerCase, like that. Let's bring some of this down so we can get some room. Let's see that. Let's bring this down. Let's bring this down. And then we're also going to do, after the colon, we're going to say, so basically right now it's doing, let me just bring this up right now until we're good to bring it down. So right now we're saying if element equals element dot toUpperCase, we're going to make it lowercase, or we're going to say element dot toUpperCase, like this. All right, now let's test it out. And so now it's made all those lowercase to uppercase. So now let's bring all this stuff down, kind of make it a little cooler looking, and save some space while we're at it. Right? And then this. Then, is that cool enough? That's cool enough. All right, so now we've got this, and then all we got to do is just join all this stuff together. So we'll be using the join method to do that, which creates and returns a new string by concatenating all the elements in an array separated by commas or a specified separator string. And so for the separator string we're going to use is just an empty string right here so that it makes the elements butt up next to each other. So we'll just say dot join, and then we'll say empty string, right? So test that out. And now we've got that. All right, so let's get this console.log out of here and turn it into a return. Let's say return. Let's see if we can do this. And then give me just a second. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. All right. Whoops. There we go. All right, and now let's test it out. And there we go. It works fine. Attempt it. All right. Now this way, it's a little bit harder to read, but it looks cooler. And this is exposing you a little bit to when you see this kind of stuff in the future. Let's submit it. All right. And you see this one, they pretty much did what we did, except for they did the split method instead of the, what did we do? The spread syntax. Also, they made it A instead of element, but it's pretty much exactly the same thing. And then here's this. It's pretty much what we did with the first way we did it. And then right here, they're doing some stuff, some is lowercase. They're basically calling this function on this and doing some other stuff. You can check it all out. Let's go over to mine. Just me on this one. Best practice in my opinion. Very much like it. And we'll see you next time.